How's it, sticklers? The JoySchtick.Show is back to talk story about things we've read, watched, or played. Shaka's my halls for sticking around. If you fancy what you hear, please like and subscribe on the platform you frequent. I'm your co-host, Drake, and that's Thomas,
What up, what up?
and that's Scott.
How's it?
And welcome to episode 130 Uno. We've got a plethora of things on the palette for you today.
So
We're gonna
much.
get into some news, which happens to deal with the Switch, second season of Beef, Destin Daniel Cretin, Shogun, The Bear. We don't have any trailers today because there wasn't a lot of trailers, but there's a lot of stuff coming out. We talked about it before. Please go back and watch our plethora, that's the word of the day, of episodes that we did talk about, trailers that are coming out soon. And we'll be getting into some reviews. We'll talk about some Shane Gillis on SNL, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we've been playing so much Helldivers 2, we're going to talk about it again.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Let's start off with Helldivers 2 because I think
Yeah.
we're like, we could add trailers,
Yeah.
but Helldivers 2. We could add more news. Helldivers 2. Yeah, screw
yeah.
it. Let's just do Helldivers
Let's
2.
just talk about Helldivers 2.
Yeah, if you don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing after this, after
It's
recording
Helldivers
this,
2.
we're playing Helldivers 2.
For democracy,
So damn
boys.
addicting.
For democracy. For Super Earth.
Yes.
Man, so ridiculous, so over the top. We played it last week to the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on this game? What do you like about it?
Man.
What don't you like about it?
Yeah, there's more to not Scott, I
Yep.
can't even think what I'm saying.
No, it is really addicting. It is so addicting, in fact, that when Drake said it right. When I was playing the other day with with Cobes, everyone knows Cobes. I was just me and him, and like Drake, we got a text out from you guys like, I can't not think about this game right now while I'm working. And that was me the other day when I was working. I'm like, that's how you know it's addicting. Like other games, I can take a break, live life, but this game, I'm like thinking of things. I'm like running for democracy in my head, like over stupid shit I'm doing, and like it's just
Yep.
it's so addicting. It's simple enough to like pick up and go, but just challenging enough to like keep going, and like there's things to earn. And we've been looking for a game to kind of just shoot the shit while we have fun, and I think this game is like nailed all of that for us.
Yeah.
So fun.
It's
Yeah,
it's video game crack, and you wouldn't know it, boys, but this is actually an intervention for all three of us because we've been playing it so much, we've been
good
neglecting
luck.
our
I'm out of
duties.
here.
Yeah, let's
Just
let's check back in
Moving
a couple months. Let's get this
on.
game going.
Oh, so because we watched, well, I was able to finish the entirety of The Last Airbender on Netflix, but imagine that The Last Airbender and Helldivers 2 mashed together. So you're like you're a bender that drops down onto one of the nations or the tribes, etc. And now you have to do that thing for democracy, uh, and battle airbending style or earthbending style, etc. A bunch of other Bobs. I feel like that would be such.
It's funny you
Yeah.
say that. Like there was a game. What was that other game that we played? Remember, it was a 3-player game that was similar to what you're saying.
Oh, yes,
There
yes,
was like
yes.
a more aggressive build where you were like Earth type of rocks thing. There was one where you can like teleport
Diablo?
behind people. What is it called? No, not Diablo. Remember, we played it for a little bit, maybe a couple years ago, and we were like, "Why isn't this 4 players?"
Yeah.
It was a 3-player go on missions, and you had powers and guns and
It
stuff.
was
And
third person Gears of War style.
yeah,
See, it sucks
we
so bad we don't even remember it.
no, it was actually kind of fun. I forget why we. I think it being 3 players was hard because there was 4 of us for a while
I know,
playing
yeah.
pretty regularly. I'm gonna look
Right.
up this game later. Probably off air we'll get this answer. Sorry, people listening, but
Yeah.
there
We'll
was
just
a game
drop
that
it
was
in at
similar to
any
like
point.
that.
Just like leave it in there just for the end so people have to listen to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get back to you at the end.
Yeah, you'll
But
say
I'm not
it and then
against
be
them
like,
doing
"Thanks
it
for checking
again.
for us."
If they applied that sort of stuff to this game, like this game is so well done, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like if they made kind of sorry, real quick, if they made kind of like sub games like so one of the things you can pick up in this game was this jetpack. Not the greatest item because you can use it once and then there's like a cooldown. I thought it was gonna be cooler. But I was like, what if there was a mode where like you turn on jetpack and it just automatically boosts you every time it's ready to boost, and it's like PV 2v2 or something. Like just little mini games where you can like turn
Oh,
on like that where it's just
Oh.
silly.
that'd be
That could
kind
be
of
cool.
cool.
You add on another like mod where it's like you got airbender shit and stuff. I'd play it.
Yeah, I would too. It'd kind of be like a mixture of this and Dynasty Warriors. That would be pretty sweet.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You know, because you're just ultimate in that game. You could take on
That'd be sick.
hordes. Yeah, everybody has powers. There's like a cool way you could do it. Yeah, why have they not? Is there an Avatar, The Last Airbender open world game or semi open world game?
No,
They
I
need to
don't
I
think
have that.
so.
Why don't they have that?
There was
have
this
no
dude
clue.
online that's like making his own Avatar game. He's been doing it for over like years, and little by little he posts footage of it. And it looks pretty good, but he's just
Nice.
been doing it himself in his free time. But Nickelodeon needs to hire this guy and like make it happen because it could be
Yeah.
cool.
So to Kickstarter it, I would send him money right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
before this intervention kicks in. So I'd definitely do that. Yeah. So we're getting also the Switch 2 coming out next March 2025.
Nice.
What do you guys think about that? Is it something you're gonna get? How do you think it's gonna differ from the Switch we already have?
Ooh,
Because
probably just gonna be a little bit bigger, or even maybe more compact, or maybe it folds like a
maybe it's
Samsung.
smaller, maybe it's bigger, maybe it's larger,
Maybe it's
Maybe it's everything
translucent.
you
Maybe
want.
it's made out of nothing
yeah,
but
maybe it's
gold. I don't know.
Maybelline. I don't know where we're going with this, but
Maybe
it's
it's
like,
worth it.
Maybe she's
yeah,
born with it. Yeah, that's so
yeah.
Hey.
funny.
But
Um,
yeah, I could see computing power being ramped up with the Steam Deck, with the new PSP kind of portable, like the PlayStation portable thing
yep.
that's going around right now. It seems like it would make sense that they would just kind of increase the computing power in it. But other than that, I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I don't think it'd be wise for them to stray from the portable. I think that's still pretty popular now, and there's still a lot of years ahead
Mm,
to like make use of that. Um, Probably what you're saying, like more of a pocket computer sort of thing. Hopefully, better graphics so they can like maybe get bigger games on there, or like people who make big games to like want to make games for the Switch. It seems like Nintendo has the really good games they have are usually the Nintendo brand games like
yeah.
Mhm.
Zelda and stuff,
Mario
and then
Kart.
Mario Kart, and then you'll get third party ones that are like old games that are still good, but like Witcher 3 or something of that sort, Assassin's Creed or something, and some of them like gotta be streamed or something because it's hard to fit on that card. So hopefully just a better Steam Deck, but for Nintendo or something, one with a good
Right.
battery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the battery on the Switch now is already pretty solid. So man, if they
Hmm.
increase that, which I definitely still think they need to do, be
Hmm.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like the Steam Deck, I don't have one. I really want one,
Yeah.
but it seems like not every game is like perfectly made for that console or that setup. So
No.
having a game designer develop a game that's specifically for that, it just completely changes the feel of everything, or at least it
For sure.
should if it's a good game. So
Hmm.
yeah, you guys made me think of something too. Recently, I saw the top selling games for every device. Let me see if I can. So I'll just go back a little bit. Okay, so for right now, the Nintendo Switch, the number one selling game is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, then
Hmm.
Makes
Animal
sense.
Crossing New Horizon. So
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 sold 60.58 million units.
Wow.
Animal Crossing 44.79 million units. Smash Brothers Ultimate 33 million point 67. Wii U, Mario Kart 8, Wii Sports, and Nintendo GameCube, a game that was near and dear to our hearts. Super
Smash
Smash
Bros.
Brothers Melee sold 7.41 million units. So
Dang.
their properties seem to do the best.
Hmm.
Maybe this with the new Switch, especially with what Xbox is saying they're going to do, which is going to open up their games. They're not going to do exclusive anymore. They can get some of those titles that used to just be on Xbox onto a Switch, and now both sides are winning.
That would be
So
huge. Yeah.
yeah,
To
yeah,
Yep.
give it some a little bit different breadth, and not Breath of the Wild, but like different breadth for Nintendo games because it seems to be their top selling games are Nintendo stuff.
Yeah. If they were able to get like what everyone thought the PlayStation portable or whatever the fuck, what they thought that was gonna be, like it'd be cool to be able to like just download games,
Hmm.
play them outside, and then like just keep cycling them or stream them if you want, something like that. And if Nintendo was able to like let you download like Halo and like Gears of War and stuff and play on the go, like that'd be sweet. And I really hope,
Holy
I'm sure they will,
moly!
but I hope they keep the being able to dock it on the TV and then just take it on the go. Like
Yeah.
that being able to do that so easily, like is huge. Um, I'm looking. I'm probably gonna get Switch 2. I don't even know what it looks like, but for right now, I'll just say yes.
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
I could see us being up till 3 a.m. on Black Friday shopping for one of those things,
Yeah.
similar to our
oh,
PS5s
oh
for
my
years
goodness.
back.
Yep.
Uh, all right, so we're getting a live action Naruto series,
Okay.
and a lot of people have been asking for Shang-Chi 2. We haven't got that. Maybe it's because Destin Daniel Cretton is now helmed to direct this live action series, being produced by Lionsgate. Do you guys have any thoughts? Are you or were you Naruto fans?
Yeah. Yeah, Naruto was cool. I even like just recently started going back and like rereading the beginning of Naruto. I like the whole like entrance exam, them fighting each other, figuring out their powers sort of thing.
Hmm.
And it's still entertaining. It still holds up. I like it. Um, I think if it's like Shang-Chi and whatnot, I think it could be cool. I know we'll dive more into live action versions of cartoons in a bit, but
Yes, we will.
it could definitely be decent. I'll say that. But for it to be amazing, I'm not sure. It could be really cool though.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about having live action versions of cartoons and our comics, it at least opens the door for people who haven't heard of it before to go
Hmm.
back and go to the original property. Like if you like that, then go check out the original because it's way cooler than this. So, I do like that. It sounds cool.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Naruto is a, I mean, obviously we just watched House of Ninjas, and ninja things have been popular for a long time in popular culture for a long time. Naruto being one of those things, especially in manga, being able to stretch like generations now. So it would be nice, like you said, Scott, for it to be able to reach and touch new individuals, physically, emotionally, mentally.
Hmm.
For me, it's hard. I feel like there are very few animes that were able to transition to live action to make it good. I think for me, it was I didn't even think One Piece was going to do that well, and it surprised me. But things like Cowboy Bebop did not necessarily do well. Things like Rurouni Kenshin, which I loved as a kid, didn't really do well. But
Yep.
other things that you think would do well because we have done those things before with Pacific Rim, why not a Gundam Wing, or a Gundam in general? With uh, something like Bleach, obviously a little bit harder, but that's kind of on the same route as Naruto for me because casting has to be good, set design has to be good, costume design has to be good, and are you
Special
going to be
effects.
special effects? Are you going to be going the route of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Where you're taking, hundreds of episodes and condensing them, and trying to do your best to cater to both new individuals and people who've watched it for a long time, etc.
Hmm.
Um, I'm hopeful,
Hmm.
but not as hopeful, I think, as one would be.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just gonna be, a watch and find out kind of thing. Like, I
Hmm.
don't really have super high hopes, but it also makes me feel like, again, talking about the success of One Piece, maybe this is the time of anime becoming live action and succeeding.
Hmm.
It feels like we're kind of doing that with video games, and some could argue the video game emergence kind of coincided with the anime emergence for popular culture. So I wonder if this is going to be one of those things, depending on what side of the fence you're on. You really liked the Avatar, The Last Airbender, but I think it's kind of undeniable how good One Piece is. Another one we never talked about, but I watched over Christmas break was Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh,
Hmm.
yes.
They had that, and it was pretty good. That was like all Japanese cast, Japanese writing, everything, but it was actually really solid. I was surprised. So dude, yeah, maybe now's the time. And I think he's the perfect director. He obviously understands Asian culture, being born in Hawaii, as we were talking about before, being Asian, but then also what he was able to do in Shang-Chi with the fight choreography
Hmm.
and like really building a good family dynamic too. I know Naruto's more of a found family kind of situation, but I don't know. Yeah, I think we'll know more about it, but it's exciting to hear. I think he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, just to second what Drake saying, casting is huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any fan cast or too soon to tell?
Too soon to tell. I can't picture
Yeah.
um
Imagine like
anyone doing it.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah. No, I
beat
got you.
it. What does he say? What does that
No,
dude say?
believe it.
Believe it.
Beat
Beat
it.
it.
He's
Yeah.
little Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he's a little
Michael
Michael
Jackson
Jackson.
Naruto.
So good.
so
Okay,
funny.
so talking about Japanese culture, we have something that's very exciting. It's coming out before we're recording this, but we'll have a review next week. Shogun, out on FX/Hulu, will be out on the 27th of this month, Tuesday.
Mhm.
So this episode will be out by the time we've watched the first episode of Shogun. Dude, I am so excited. Any quick thoughts on Shogun?
Just Japanese history in general is very polarizing. I think we definitely take a lot of that feudal ancient Japanese style and like make that the predominant projection of what we view as like Japanese ancient culture. And there's a lot of things in between there and then, but man, such a favorite time for me. And growing up listening to I guess the animes and the mangas being able to portray this like time where it's just about like meritocracy. Like, what are you good at? What's your Kaizen? What's your Ikigai? You know what I mean? Like, what is,
If you
oh
could
man.
go back in time, and let's say you could also like translate, you could speak Japanese, like that was part of this concoction ability. Do you think they'd accept you? Do you think you'd be like,
Uh,
oh yeah, like this guy is, he's one
it
of us.
no. If I mean, if I'm still myself, like I'm a huge Americanized individual, so a lot of the grit and grind and the perseverance that some Japanese people go through could be because it's very classist in that hierarchy of the feudal system. I'd probably be a bum, you know what I mean? I'd be on the side of the road, tattered clothes, just
Couldn't cut it.
struggling, yep, to
Yeah.
get some yen.
Yeah, you'd have to like
Maybe,
grow up in
yeah,
that time. Like
yeah,
if you just get thrown in now,
yeah.
I
You're
couldn't
like,
get thrown in any time in the past.
you want me to take a
I think
shower in cold water? What?
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking hygiene. Like sometimes they just
Ugh.
don't shower for like whatever, like a week or so, or maybe longer. It's what it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be able to sleep well.
Yeah,
So I'd probably die early. I'd get some kind of cold fucking
yeah.
die.
Yeah,
So
for week one.
Straight
yeah,
make from all
I
the
get some kind of
koji,
crazy
yeah.
pneumonia or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, eat old rice because I'm
And then
fat
you're
and
like,
then
oh
just
fuck,
die.
make.
What?
Some spoiled rice. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I know Christina has this rule. I can't leave rice in the pot over 2 days. Even if it's on warm. Too too much bacteria. I'll
You know what,
die.
I
Christine
mean,
is doing that too. Like she's been sending me all these videos of like if you leave rice out and this, it gets this kind of thing. And I'm like, man, I
Never
grew
had a
up eating it.
problem.
I feel like
Yep.
maybe we were just built different because we were forced to eat rice the way it. I
Those
don't know.
bacteria grew in my stomach and then they have now encased it and protect my stomach. Those
Yeah,
bacteria do not affect me. I will
yeah,
leave rice in
okay.
there until it's green
So
and it'll be fine.
as
yeah. They're
someone
like, you
who's
could even die, and I'm like, I haven't
it's
died yet,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
for
maybe I
Let's give it a
wouldn't die. I
try.
take
no,
that
no, no.
back.
For someone who's worked in the industry and also has taught serve safe managerial, it's rice is one of the things that will have bacteria on it. And yes, if you leave it out for too long, there's a potentiality of it. But then, we've been eating rice since we were born. So our gut flora is way more constituted to it. Also,
Mhm.
in Mexican cultures, they eat rice as well. Granted, there's not as much starches, so there's not enough, or there's not as much food for bacteria to be eating on it because it's less starchy and more grainy.
Mhm.
But at the same point in time, it's yes and no. Like, what are you willing to compromise? Because when you go to Mexico and you eat Mexican street food, those people aren't using they're not washing their hands. They're
And
not
he
washing
says
their
this
hands, dude.
because our wives are Mexican, not because we're using
Yes.
them as the bad example in this situation.
Except
Yes.
my wife is not Mexican.
Oh, what is she?
She's a lot of white. I
What
love
kind
her
of
for it. No, but I don't know. There's just
Yeah, she
these
can't
That's
videos
where the
have
that she's
plague
two-day
came
old
from,
rice,
all right?
Scott.
Yeah,
She
that's where the
can't have
plague came from.
two-day old rice, all right?
Yeah, I think it might if it's gonna kill anyone, it might kill her. So
Oh, okay.
for her, we're done. Like I let the rice cool off, and then I
Yeah.
package it, put it in the fridge.
Okay.
Scott, blink
But she doesn't
twice
even
if
eat a
you're
lot of rice
lying.
anyway. It's mainly me, so
Blink
she's
twice
just
if you're
looking out for me.
lying.
Yeah.
What was that?
Are
Blink
you in a
twice.
safe
Oh,
space?
okay. Good.
Oh
She's
my
in the
God.
room. Got
Oh
it.
my God.
Got it.
Run.
Okay.
Run.
Uh,
You guys know Morse code.
there you
No,
go.
bottom line is we love rice, and we're gonna eat however we want. Okay.
That's right. And I don't want to have to keep sifting water and making it every day. Just
I
let
know,
it be.
yeah.
All right.
Let
Yeah,
it
and
Let
then
be.
it
back to
Right.
the
be.
original thing. I'm excited for the show.
Thank you.
Wait, you're talking about beef? Because it goes well with rice?
Hey, I think that's a
Hey,
great
segue.
segue. Yeah, talk about again Asian culture and how it kind of came to be and everything. Well, yes, Beef is getting a season 2, and the cast looks
Ooh,
phenomenal. It doesn't look as
phenomenal.
like Asian centered. I don't think that's
No.
important, but it's just something to note. Although, wait, that's not true. Who is the main actor here? I know that we have Anne
Uh,
Hathaway. We talked
Anne
about her already.
Hathaway
She's gonna be in this as
and
I
well.
like Jake Gyllenhaal as well,
Jake
right?
Gyllenhaal's Gyllenhaal
Mm-hmm.
is
Two big
the
Asians.
wait,
Yeah.
what?
What? Big
Two
Asian.
big
They're
Asians? Is that what you said?
they're not Asian. That was a joke.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
They
so
are white people.
Charles Melton and Kaylee Spaney. Spaney. I might be saying that completely wrong. Sorry about that.
Yes.
But they also look like they could both be Hapa. I know for a fact that Charles is Asian. I don't know what kind. So maybe it follows them. But then you have again Anne Hathaway, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Are they the main characters? I don't know, but I just love this premise. I love that it's kind of an
Yeah.
anthology series,
Yeah.
much like True Detective, much like American Horror Stories. So yeah, this is exciting, man. I can't wait to see what the premise is for this season.
It
Mhm.
says on Screen Rant that it's gonna be two feuding couples.
Oh, no way. That's so
That
good.
could be
Okay.
interesting.
God, that's
That
some of
could
my
be interesting.
favorite episodes of there was Modern Family. There's one where they're like the couples feud, but then there's also one of um How I Met Your Mother where
Oh
Barney
yeah.
and Robin fight this couple, which is played by Keegan Michael Key and like
Oh
another chick from SNL back in the day. It's
Yeah.
so funny and how they hate them and they try to sabotage their night. That's my favorite. So this is gonna be really exciting, especially with these two pairs.
Yeah,
is
for sure.
would you say that the wait for Beef season 2 is unbearable?
Well done. Yes,
Nailed
The
it.
Bear season 3 is filming now. That's
That's
Nice.
the
it's
news. All
gonna
right, moving
we're moving
on.
on. Yeah. Um, we can expand a little bit. I'm so excited. Everybody's star has shined. Look how many awards that this whole cast has got,
Hmm.
from Emmys to SAG Awards to or was it SGA
Yeah,
Screen
Screen
Actors
Guild
Guild. So yeah, SAG
actors.
Awards.
Oh,
Yeah, all that stuff, man. They've all
People's Choice
blossomed.
Award.
People Choice Award, exactly.
Yeah, they're cleaning up.
Clean it up everywhere. It's gonna be so good. And then we also know that Cousin is gonna be in the MCU now as Ben Grimm. Also, funny enough, Christina's rewatching that show Girls that was on
Hmm.
HBO, and he
Yeah.
plays like a musician that was in love. I'm like, man, Eben Moss Backrack has been in the fold for a long time. Just kind of been maybe one of those faces that you don't really know his name, but you see him around here and there.
Yeah.
And man, these last few years have he's killed it. His agent has crushed it for him, getting him these jobs, and he's just taken and flew with it. Again, the Bear. He was in Andor for those who forgot, and then we're gonna have him in the MCU. So
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
so stoked.
Yeah, just exciting. I mean, I kind of wish that when they're doing seasons, new seasons, they were putting out like teasers or like mini like trailers, like 3-second commercials to kind of, get you pumped up every once in a while. That don't have anything to do with the season in itself, but just to, keep your salivary glands and attention back on the Sichma Bob.
Yeah. What kind of 3 second preview do you think they could do?
Like do you remember during the Super Bowl there was what's that guy's name that
I
he
love
was
it.
like
I
it's like
figured you
a
might say what's that guy's name?
yeah, dude. Yeah. What's that guy's name? He's a pretty popular actor. The reason why
Ryan
I'm not
Reynolds,
remembering it, yeah,
Will
no.
Ferrell,
He's
Tom
older
Steve
Cruise.
Carell,
and he talks oh, Christopher Walken,
Christopher
nailed it.
Hawkins.
He does
Whoa, you
like so
forgot
it's like a
Walken?
Wow.
walking, he's like a trailer for a
Wow.
trailer.
Buddy. Jeez.
Yeah. Um, but so like imagine if it's just like Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway, and they're just walking down the street, and all of a sudden they look over and they're like, "Fuck that couple," and then it just cuts.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we're back to
Like
beef.
yeah, but like,
I thought we were talking
but
about bear.
no,
And
Yeah,
no,
then,
but
they're looking
yeah,
at Cousin and
yeah,
his
yeah.
girlfriend,
oh,
So like,
yes.
and it's the
so
same
just imagine it's
universe.
like Io Berry, and she's doing something with her knife cuts, and she looks up and she goes, "Yes, chef," and then you see a turn, and it's what's his face, and then it just cuts.
Yeah,
Well,
like
with
Jeremy
beef, they
Allen
could.
White
I
or
mean,
something.
beef. Okay, he did it too. With the bear,
Yep.
they could totally just throw you into 3 seconds of anxiety and be like, "We're coming
Yep.
back," and
Yeah,
that's
dude.
all we
Yeah.
need.
That's such yeah,
Just
that's
the
smart.
tickets printing and like
Yeah.
maybe it's falling apart
Oh
again,
my God, the
and
tickets are
Man,
fucking
yeah, you're
something,
right.
and then, yeah,
holy
we're
The
back.
cow.
tickets printing, good call out, man. That was so heavy that one episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, we end with what is his name? I forget what Jeremy Allen White's character's name. But we end with him in the locker, frozen, right? And he kind of like curses everybody out.
Oh, they
His
call him
looks
Bear, right?
that's yeah, that's right. Well, I know
But what
yeah.
is his
Is that right? That is right.
Yeah,
Carmine.
they Carmine. Yeah,
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 yeah.
some
but they
people
would,
call him
yeah,
Car, some people call him Carmine, some people call him Bear, right?
yeah,
But yeah, him being left in that locker, man, yeah, he's gonna
Carmi.
have to do a lot of ass kissing, I think, this coming season. But it seems like the restaurant is taking off. They're now getting to that point where they could possibly be seen as a Michelin star restaurant, I think, in the future. Yeah, everybody really matured. God, you know what I saw recently too was the Thanksgiving scene
hmm
with John Bernthal and Bob Odenkirk, and then they're
hmm
arguing at the table.
with the fork.
And yeah, the caption was just like, everybody in this scene deserves an Emmy. And God, yes, they do. It is so
Yeah.
good. I almost feel like you could just watch that standalone episode in some ways and kind of realize like kind of what the show is about
I
without
agree. That could have been a short.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. Like if you don't want to see everything in the show or you want to kind of like test it out, man, start with season 2, whatever that dinner scene episode. Google it cuz yeah, you get so much in there that just kind of tells you who everybody is and what their stories are.
hmm
So good. All
Yeah.
right, we
Up
are
here.
into some quick
All
reviews.
beers.
Quick.
I think this is like one of your favorite comedians, Scott. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but he's
Put it in his
definitely
mouth.
yeah. He had a lot of controversy because he didn't get to go at SNL and then or didn't get to be on SNL. Then kind of followed his own path in comedy, and now has done so well. He got to host SNL this weekend. Do you want to take it away on Shane Gillis hosting SNL?
Yeah. Shane Gillis, he is like he's a pretty popular comedian at the moment. I do enjoy him. You know, he's like one of the I guess he's one of the top guys I enjoy watching right now. I'm not gonna say like I like strongly believe with all the inappropriate things he says, and that's why I like him. You know, like I feel like that's people like to draw lines in the sand. I'm like, you laugh at this, you're this type of person, sort of thing. I just think he's funny, you know, and he means well. Like genuinely, I've seen him on podcasts and stuff. He's not a bad dude. So
Mm-hmm.
on this though, I was excited to see him, especially because I follow a lot of comedy podcasts, and it was cool to see other comedians like hype for their dude to be on SNL. You see a lot of reposting, like, oh, I can't wait to see like one of us on there. Same like what you're saying with Nate
Totally.
Bargatze hosting. Um,
The boy made
I know
it.
we were talking. What was that?
The kid made it. He made
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
the
Hey.
top.
exactly. It's like they because I again like especially after the Chris Rock slap and all that, comedians kind of seem like they're right there with the top. Like they're expected to be there hosting all the award shows and stuff, but they're not seen as equals, you know, sort of thing. So they
Right.
always feel like they're not, they're kind of outsiders. So it's, I
Mm-hmm.
guess I can, it's kind of cool when they're like, yeah, one of us made it. But overall, I think he did a good job. There were some funny sketches. I know we were talking about the monologue earlier. It was like not the most solid, most polished monologue. It felt
Yeah.
very Shane Gillis working out new material type of monologue. Like some
Yes.
of it landed, but the way he was delivering it felt like he was like, "Yeah, I got like kind of like I got some new stuff. Let's see if you like it," sort of thing. I
Right.
know in the
Right.
middle of it, he mentioned like I don't really have a lot of stuff that's like for TV, which I
Right.
think was true.
Because I mean, it seemed like, yeah, that just seemed like it was from the heart. Like that wasn't even a part of the monologue, and then it was
Yeah,
like, I don't have a lot of material that works for TV, and it was like,
yeah,
okay, shit. I think he really means that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it seemed like it was going well, and again, from what because it popped up on YouTube, just the opening
hmm
monologue. I watch it, and he seemed very nervous, and then he kept saying like, ooh, I thought that was gonna get a better laugh. And I know you've pointed out before that's kind of a part of his bit. But the
Yeah,
thing was, he said it so much, I was like, oh shoot, like, is this not going well? And also, it seemed like maybe in post they added more laughter or something, and he couldn't hear it to me. I mean, this was just my interpretation. So I
yeah,
couldn't tell if he was doing a good job or a shit job. Like, I really couldn't tell the reaction. Like, yeah, I don't know. It just like, it just, it didn't like land for me as much as I would have wanted it to.
for sure.
But it's a nerve wracking thing, you know?
Yeah, that's gotta be
It's
so
Saturday Night
nerve
Live. It's
wracking.
crazy.
It's already a big thing, and it was a job that it's like the most popular job that the world knows you were hired for and then got fired for and then now asked back. And not everyone wants you there. But part of you was like, I'm not gonna say no. Like,
Mhm.
this is a
Yeah,
crazy
totally.
opportunity.
Hmm.
And if people don't know, like he also does sketch comedy. It's not the same as like SNL type of stuff. Like some of the stuff they do is like you can't really air on like regular television.
No.
Um, but it is funny, So I feel like there was some stuff. It seemed like in some of the sketches he was able to collaborate, at least, or the people who wrote it knew his voice. Like some of it kind of rode the line of his style of sketch comedy, which was cool to see. I think overall he did a good job. There was like there's a few funny sketches in that. The monologue could have been stronger. Um, but like we were saying, for a dude that's not a movie star to host SNL, that's pretty cool to just be like a popular stand-up comedian
Yeah,
to like get the opportunity like that. That's pretty awesome. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
definitely. So, out of all the sketches they did, though, was there any, excuse me, that stood out to you? Like, which one was your favorite that he did?
There was one that was like it's inappropriate, but it was funny just because
Say
it's
it.
the one where they're at the job. They're having like its HR meeting and they're talking about how like you can ask out your coworker, but you can only ask them once.
Hmm.
And then he's like, "Oh, I got a question." And he stands up, he's like, "Oh, so if I ask out Linda, like, hey Linda, you want to go out with me?" And she's like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "So that's it? Like that's the one?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's the one." He's like, "Okay." So then if I ask out, I forget the names. So it's like if I ask out Stephanie, like, "Hey Stephanie, you want to go?" She's like, "Oh, I'd love to out with you." And he's like, "You see, I don't really like Stephanie. Could I bank her yes and apply it to Linda?" And they're like, "No,
Hmm.
you can't do that." And he's like, "Interesting. Okay." And then like the other people would ask questions and he stands up again and he's like, "So like Phil, you're gay. You're not gonna ask out Linda. Could I get your question for like $20?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you my question." And then he's like, "All right." And they're like, "No, you can't do it. You can't buy people's banks." Like he kept trying to figure out a way around the system. And then they all start doing it. They're like, "Oh, I have a question." And like it just turned into this crazy thing where they're all like, they all agree that they should be able to like create their own rules. And HR's like, "No, like this is not happening." It was pretty funny. The
That's
way it
pretty
like kind
good.
of spun out of control. But
Yeah, man.
yeah, I'd
The
probably
other
say that was
one.
probably one of the funniest.
No, totally. That sounds hilarious. I gotta go back and watch that one. But there was one that was really fast because it just happened, but it was like the Trump shoes. I'm not sure what they're called,
Yeah.
but they did like a like Mike situation where he puts on the shoes and you think he's just gonna be sick at basketball, just like little Bow Wow or something. But it's not that. He's just like really good at convincing people he's good at things now.
Yeah.
So he's just like, he shoots it and they're like, "Oh, miss," and he's like, "No way, that went in. You can't tell me it didn't go in." He starts
Yeah.
doing the Trump voice, and his accent or like his impression is pretty damn good,
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
alongside with the other guy that's in SNL, right?
I agree. Yeah. And there's a point where they both met as Trumps,
Right, right,
right?
right. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, at the
Yeah,
end,
yeah, that
and
was
they come
funny.
and they're both doing their Trump impressions at each other.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I was like, damn,
I think you're
that was pretty solid.
wrong. That's all I'm saying. Or whatever. It's like, and then they
Right,
like,
right.
yeah, it's so funny. They're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, so you
his
can ball now?" He's like, "No, but I can be
I can
Trump."
I can tell
Like,
people that I can ball now, and that's good enough or something.
yeah, it's like so ridiculous. But it
Yeah.
was a funny premise.
Yeah.
Freaking like Trump, the
Right,
golden
right.
shoes. That was funny.
Totally. That was pretty funny. So yeah, we'll have to give it more of a watch. But yeah, the last thing I'll say is like I know it was kind of controversial. Like I know people like there was definitely mixed views on his hosting, but the fact that I think that you liked it as a fan is all that really matters.
Right, right. And if you're listening and you still hate it and whatnot, like that's fine too. Like everyone's opinion is their own opinion. That's fine. You don't need to watch it. But I think some of the backlash were people not even checking out. They don't like them to begin with, and I guess that's fair. Kind of like the Ezra Miller effect with the Flash. It's already done, so.
Dead
But
on arrival before you
mhm,
could even take the first step.
mhm,
Yeah, so all right,
Wow.
that was it for SNL. We're moving on to kind of the main attraction, the biggest thing that came out, I want to say this past weekend, which was Avatar the
Madam
Last
Web. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was the weekend before.
Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry,
And
sorry.
but
was
you're
real
right.
good.
No, it just, the magnificent run that Madam Web's been on has just been carried on. Drake, take it away on Madam Web.
So, Madam Web is a
Okay, so
movie that
Avatar the Last Airbender.
That's enough of Madam Web.
Yeah, that's enough
Heyo.
of that. No. But no, seriously, Drake, take it away on Avatar The Last Airbender because I think you were able to watch all of it, right?
Oh yeah, I watched all 8 episodes, which I did not think. So first and foremost, on the first episode, I was like, "Oh man, what are we doing?"
Mhm,
We're seeing
Why though?
Avatar. Yeah, yeah. Uh, I said that because they were constantly repeating that Avatar, the only bender that can do all 4 elements, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about it the last time where they're trying to get new individuals in. And so if you've watched Avatar before, it's very much an ode to it. And if you're new, you're gonna get it because they're gonna explain all this shit to you because that's what they're doing. They're doing a lot of
mhm,
exposition, as Thomas said in the last epi. Um, but as it kind of gets further down the road from episode 1 to episode 8, you're starting to see all of these things that you saw in the OG season 1. And um, you're gonna get to see these play out, not verbatim or word for word, but with actors being able to show emotion, um, and really be able to kind of get what you don't really get in the original series, which is like kind of lesser animation. The animation is a lot better now. If they could go back in and redo that, that would be awesome. But
mm.
one of my favorite moments is watching Katara get into her water bending situation once she makes it up to the north. She fights is his name Puka?
Paku.
Paku.
Yeah, Master
Puka.
Paku.
Puka hole. And they do all that thing, and I thought to myself, like, oh man, what is this gonna look like? Is it gonna look like X-Men via 1990 with Bobby Drake, or what is it gonna look like? And it looked gorgeous. It was a fun, exciting battle.
Mhm.
There are points in time further along down the line where the acting is definitely new for a lot of these individuals. But at the same point in time, I think that's how it felt when you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender initially, right? Everything's kind of new, and you're letting go of these things that you would normally not if it was some IP that you were definitely into. Like if it was like Batman, and like Batman doesn't sound like Batman and blah bloop bloop, right? So
That's true.
um, I would say for me, some things got like the casting for me is the best in this situation. Like all the characters are kind of where they need to be. For me, Sokka, even though he's not a great like actor per se, his blocking, his mannerisms are Sokka. Same
Totally.
thing with Aang. Like Aang, his mannerisms, his voice, his playfulness, his childishness is Aang. And obviously Uncle Iroh.
Mhm.
I mean, you can't. I mean, what more can you say about that? Even
He was so good. Paul
yeah,
Hong
was
Sung
Yeah.
Lee was
yeah,
like
so
insane.
good, dude.
Yeah.
Even Daniel Day Kim and
Daniel Day Kim, crush it as Ozai.
Zuko is like super good too. He just reminds me of my cousin Lane because he has
It's
one
also cool.
eyelid type situation. Yeah, and
He's one eyelid?
yeah, he has like he doesn't have double eyelids. He just has the one eyelid flap situation, so it's like super
Oh, I
low. You know
see.
what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
But like
I
you
thought
can
about
see
it
his
differently.
yeah.
I
Oh
thought
yeah,
there was
sorry.
like
Yeah.
some kind of like traumatic thing that
I
happened
thought
watching
one
Yeah,
that
eye was
he
just
has
Zuko.
open
one
all the time,
eye.
like Two
Yeah,
Face.
from like a
Like, dude, that
fatal.
sucks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Murphy dead. Can we trust
Hey.
him?
The Batman's coming back.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
but
wait. One thing I have to say. So the Aang for me, was there times where you had trouble like understanding him because he talked too fast?
yeah,
There's times he's
yeah.
like, "What is doing that?" And you're like,
There's
"What did
yeah,
he say? Like, what did
two
he?"
yeah,
This kid was. I think he was like you're saying. He's kind of maybe this might be his first big role.
bruh.
Excited,
D-
but there were times like I had the caption on,
Mhm.
and good thing I watched the cartoon because there's some lines I'm like, "What are you saying,
What are
dude?
you
Like you're
saying? Yeah.
talking way too fast."
Mm.
Did you also feel like sometimes Katara, like
Mhm.
she was forcing her emotions? Um,
Yeah, I think so. The overall, like I thought it was pretty decent.
for sure.
Maybe a little better than decent, but
Mm.
all the acting like wasn't the greatest, but they were all on par with each other. So it
Yeah,
was kind
yeah,
of like
yeah.
the whole show was that. So it wasn't like one dude was Daniel Day-Lewis and then everyone else was new, and then you're like, whoa, we fucked the juxtaposition, or I can't even say the word.
Juxtaposition.
Thank you very
Right,
much,
right.
brother.
It's a
But
position of juxtaposition. Oh, yeah, yeah.
it wasn't like that. So like everything was like okay. So I didn't try and think too much about it, but there were times where I'm like, oh, okay, this might be someone's first role, or like, oh, like it's gonna
Yeah.
be too hard. But overall, like the everything was beautiful. Cities were beautiful stuff.
Oh.
Because I got up to episode 4, so when we saw the Earth Kingdom and like the sliding um
Oh,
carriages and stuff like
yeah.
throughout the cities, I'm like, oh, that was cool to see
Yeah.
that brought up to life.
For
Like
sure.
a lot of cool stuff. And the beginning scene, I have to say, right in the beginning where no, not the Earth Nation, the Fire Nation's fighting the like air temple, where he's
Yeah. Oh,
giving a heads
yeah.
up and all that stuff. And then even when you see the Earth guy doing his stuff, it's like it was really sick. Like
It's good. Yeah.
I was like, this is better than the way M. Night did his.
Right.
Granted, CG and everything's on another level now, so that could have been a
Totally.
thing. But
It
yeah,
Just
wasn't because
already
of
like the
that.
action was insane. I have to
It
say.
wasn't because of that.
Oh, I did
I was
want to
trying to give him
say,
You
some.
couldn't even say Aang in M
yeah.
Night's one. It was Ung
Yeah.
and
Ung.
Sokka, and like why change their names? Like that was immediate. That was like one of 2
Yeah.
movies I've ever walked out of theater. I've never watched the ending of that movie.
You
Oh,
just
it's real
wasted
good.
your
It gets real
money.
good at the end.
I
Yeah,
don't
at
think it
the
does.
end. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, if we look at it from the perspective that you were talking about, Scott, that like all of the actors were on par. If you notice, all of the older actors are seasoned actors. They act a lot better, and all of the younger actors are all fucking kids, right? So they all don't know. So that's an interesting dynamic because you get the maturity from the adults and you get the immaturity from the youths, both literally and
Which is kind of
figuratively.
like life, right?
Yeah,
Like when you talk to a
yeah.
kid, they don't got it all together. Like so.
Nah,
Yeah,
they're
it
figuring
was
it
good.
out.
Yeah, like all the seasoned actors, the elder actors and whatnot, they all did a solid job. It was cool
Yeah.
to see Abed from Community.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh
And
yeah. Yes,
I was
what's
like,
his
that's
face?
Abed. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
great.
It's
Danny
gonna
But
be
Pudi.
fun to watch them grow when they continue to make these shows,
yeah,
and their
Yeah,
acting
that's
will get better, etc.
so based on what you saw, do you think this gets a season 2?
If it doesn't, then you know, then what are we doing? If it doesn't get a season 2, then what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that's just it seems like you're either in 2 camps. Like you either really liked it or you really didn't.
yeah.
I guess it's just been one of those episodes where things are really polarizing. Um, I was not very high on this show in the beginning. That first episode where they were explaining everything and we got the normal intro with Kyoshi, and then it felt like 20 minutes later we got the same intro from Grand Grand. I was like, why do we need this twice? So
Well, the Grand Grand had it word for word though, right?
yeah, totally. I mean, she had it word for word for the animation cartoon, but yeah, but I was just like, what are we doing? Like, and it felt like there was a lot of explaining going on right off the bat. And I understand if you've never seen this property before, you need a lot of it explained to you. But I was just like, oh my goodness. I thought the casting was on point though. I thought all the kids were perfect for their roles. And then I was like, ooh, this is going to be a rough watch. And over on Challenge Accepted, we obviously were going episode by episode. I was not high on Zuko in the beginning. I didn't think he was angry enough. I didn't think he was scary enough. I didn't think he would be able to kind of show me this darker, grittier side. And as the
Oh,
show went on, I think it was episode 6, where
teen
you really
angst.
see what is it?
Teen angst.
Yeah, like he had a little bit of it, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, how can they have this kid just bossing them around and not be
Mm,
like, shut the
Mm.
fuck up, just go sit down,
yeah.
But as it went on, I became more and more impressed with him. And that's not to say like he was a badass with the fight choreography, the way he could flip, the way he could do all those spinning fire kicks and everything. I was like, bro, this kid is insane for that. But I didn't necessarily believe it. But like I said, as it kept going on, they all seemed to kind of grow into their roles more. Like she started feeling more like Katara. Sokka started feeling more like Sokka. Aang kind of felt like there was touches of it. I felt like this was a more serious Aang than we got
Mm.
in the show.
For sure.
He didn't really get to be a kid. We get to see it right off the bat. And then a lot of it, he's bummed about the responsibility or about the situation he's putting people in. But I didn't quite feel like I got it all the way through. It was those moments where I wanted more development from him. I wanted more moments of him getting to show his light side to really have the darker moments hit harder. But all in all, I thought they were all really good, and it just kept getting better. But one thing I think you guys said that was really great, and I fully back this, was that Uncle Iroh was so perfect, even though it took me a while to get over his voice, because I think the voice and the animation is just so good, so spot on. But Paul Hong Sung Lee, again, like dude, he brought such a different level to Iroh that I didn't know I wanted. And yeah, we got touches of it in the original show. In season 3, we see that his son Liu Tang got killed and everything. But man, just them embracing that, and also embracing how Zuko got to join him and got to be with him in those moments of sadness, I thought was like, wow. Yeah, so it did some things amazingly well. It did some things that I was like, that's okay. And then the thing I think everybody, that it was hinging on for me was, how does the bending, how does the action look? And I think they did all of that
It looked good.
superbly well.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
So
I
too.
think it probably does get a season 2. It's funny. It's rotten. As far as the last time I checked, it's rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, and then it's a 7.5 on IMDb.
Interesting.
So yeah,
What's
so
the audience score though? I wonder.
that's a good question. I haven't looked at that. I only saw like what the kind of critics were saying, or because that's what was posted.
I
Right,
thought because they have like their own division now within Nickelodeon, and I thought they were producing a bunch of different things up until 2026. I sent you guys an article, I think, previously, but
Yes,
we're
they are.
expecting like a movie, spin-offs, et cetera, and like I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, hopefully,
Well,
as it pertains to.
yeah, that brings up a good point. So the two guys that originally created the anime were attached to this. And if you had to just give like, what do you think of some of the better episodes are? Like, what would you say number wise?
Uh,
Which episode number?
Probably like,
I only watched the first 3 into 4 though.
Okay. Okay. That's-
and I mean, I guess just in terms of action, I would say the last episode's probably one of the better ones.
Yeah, for sure for action. But it was kind of meaning more overall story. But anyways, the guys who created it and produced it, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, they also were helped and attached to this Netflix show. Of course, we've talked about this before on previous episodes, that they left because of creative differences. They have now since been hired back at Nickelodeon to develop spin-offs of the original series that was on Nickelodeon. But they only really are credited on episode 1 and episode 6 of the Netflix show. And arguably 6 was one of my favorite episodes. 1, I think, even though it was exposition heavy, I think it needed to be in place to really set up who the characters are, the world, all that stuff. I think they did a good job of it. But episode 6 was where everybody won me over, and it was one of the best episodes, I think, in the whole series. They were attached to that.
which
Now,
one was
yeah,
that?
like I said, they're back in Nickelodeon. They're building spin-offs. I don't know. I don't think they're doing their own live action thing, but they're doing more animated shows.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was able to look at the Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, let's say 59% critics and then 76 audience. So
Okay.
yeah, it seems like majority, I guess, of regular folk are enjoying it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's enough to keep going because it's only like 3 books, I think, the Aang's thing. So it's just 2 more seasons. Hopefully they can take what they think they did right, fix the things they think they did wrong, and make season 2 stronger and whatnot. So
Totally.
yeah, I've yet to finish it, but it's pretty decent so far. Like I'm enjoying it. It's like lighthearted, it's a fun family watch sort of thing. So
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
The last thing I'll say about it is that it was really hard for me to not compare it to the anime. I tried my best just to appreciate it on its own.
Yeah.
I kept telling myself, much like Halo this season, it's its own thing. It's its own kind of story and arc, and you just have to appreciate it for what it was. It took me a long time to kind of get that out of my head. I think up until episode 6 is where I finally was like, all right, this is its own thing, and I can accept that. So there is that element to it. And also, there was another part of me that was comparing it to the One Piece live action that we just
Mm,
got. Because
Mm.
yeah.
I think that you have these over the top characters, this magical world. We have powers in there, this crazy amount of lore. And yeah, I think this was like, yeah, I don't know if you guys found yourself doing that or if you will, Scott, but yeah, I don't know. I guess in later episodes, I kind of want to think about why One Piece just nailed it and hit home, and why this is only kind of sitting around that 70% mark for audiences, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, yeah, that was the thing I kept thinking about.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of hard just because like I've rewatched Avatar a few times since like it's aired or whatever, and there are there's just points where you notice you're like, oh, they're blending these things together. Like, oh,
Right.
they got Jet and they got Boomy in this episode, and they got like they're just trying to
Yeah,
touch on all the things,
Amashu, and
and
yeah.
they got the secret tunnel guy, secret tunnel,
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
little fun episode, and
totally.
there it's like it's nice for the nods, but also like it's kind of like reading a book and then watching the movie and being like, oh, they're just kind of blazing through stuff. So I wonder what it's like for someone who hasn't watched the cartoon, and I want to get their opinion. Like,
Totally.
does it feel rushed in areas? Do things make sense? Because things could make sense to us because we know all the filler that they're not showing, or um,
Right.
whether we like it or not, the way they did it. So it would be interesting to get someone's opinion on that. But so far, I think they've done a pretty good job of like, I was thinking too, like when we watch the cartoon, how many times do you hear the intro, like the explanation of the avatar?
Right.
Like long ago, this, that, we're
Hmm.
waiting for the avatar and now he's back, every
Yeah.
day. So you're like, you get that drilled in your head where you're like, this is the backstory, this is what we're doing.
Hmm.
Now here's today. And whereas they'll do it one time in the show, and then that might be a lot of information for someone. Or as a kid, you're getting that every day and you're like, all right, I got it. Like it's just like
True.
that story in and out. So I don't know.
Totally.
What's the story again? I don't remember.
This bald kid trying to get his family back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's yeah, they call him the Avatar. He
Yeah.
yeah. Does he is that's the one with the blue people, right? And they're on
Yeah.
Pandora?
right,
Are
right.
Yeah.
arrows in live action on your bald head as cool as the cartoon? What do you guys think about that?
I do
Well,
not think so.
you can see the
You can see the
embossment.
more intricate
Yeah, you
designs
can
in
see
it
the
though.
embossment on the design, but you can kind of tell his head's shaved in the cartoon. His head's not. It almost also seems like he has like a 5 o'clock shadow sometimes on his face. Like he has, and I was like,
It's
ooh,
really an old
isn't
man.
he like supposed to be a child?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was going through changes, man. I think he actually was around 12 years old around when he was filming this. So dude, it's gonna be crazy. I love how they kind of alluded to Sozin's comment in the beginning, but they're not exactly like putting a time limit on it, right? Like the whole anime was, he has to learn all the bending before Sozin Comet comes, because once that comes, like the firebenders are gonna be super strong, and
Yeah.
like that. There is that kind of arbitrary time limit. We find out. I mean, Sky, I don't. Hopefully, this isn't too spoiler alert because you know it
That's
from the
okay. I
anime.
watched all the series. Yeah.
Yeah, but like they show it at the end of the series. Like they start with it where they show it in the sky, and then they
Mhm.
end with it where Ozai is finding out about the comet coming back based on the celestial and like the planetary cycles. So it kind of gives it a random time frame. You're like, that could be 2 years, that could be
Mhm.
1 year, that could be 9 months. I don't know how many, how long this is gonna take. But he's basically saying like, once this happens, we're going to be at our most powerful. This is where we're going to fully take over the world. But so there is a little bit of that time limit put on there. It's just not done exactly the same way. So as the kids age, I just wonder what they're going to look like. I made a comparison again on Challenge Accepted that it might be like Stranger Things. Like where these kids start and how old they are now is going to be so different by the time this show wraps up, because
Mm.
they might be
Yeah,
full
that's
on
true.
little adults.
Yeah. I mean, they have time jumped in episodes where usually you get that filler in the cartoons and all of a sudden now we're in a battle. I think from episodes 7 to 8, it just went from we're talking about some stuff and now we're in the stuff. whereas you would typically get some exposition in between. So to your point, Tom, I- if it kind of does do that, it'll be interesting because almost for the first three seasons of the cartoon, they were the same, and you didn't really see them grow up until Legend of
Yeah, because
Korra.
I think when they find out when the comet's coming, it's kind of within the same either
Same year
year or the
almost.
next year or something. Like it's a
Yeah.
real close window. But because they are aging in this, and it's going to be hard to hide that with them, they might for the show be like, oh, in 5 years or whatever it is, just to explain why Aang is like taller now or
Right.
whatever,
Or has a beard or whatever. Like he's
Yeah.
gonna get like normal facial hair, I would think, and all that stuff.
They're gonna wax his face.
Yeah. Like it seemed like because they were so young, they didn't even really touch on the Katara and Aang kind of flirtation either.
Hmm.
Did you guys a big deal online? Everybody was making a big deal about, or at least major news articles were about how Sokka wasn't going to be as sexist. Do you think that took away from his character in any way?
I mean, there were moments of him being sexist, just not in a super traditional sexist type way.
Like not
Um,
overtly like the
yeah.
anime.
Yeah, not overtly like that. I mean, I don't think it takes away from his character,
Hmm.
as much as it takes away from the characteristic. I think they just refocused it on other certain things. Like, so for example, in episode 8, where Katara was like, was fighting with Puka?
Paku.
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 Why can't I get his name right?
Kubo,
Paku, for like women, essentially
Pico
women's
belt.
rights, right? So, and in that situation, it was brought up in the sense of the culture more so than,
Just
you know,
overtly being
yeah,
sexist, but
yeah.
yeah.
that's how I always thought
So,
about it in the cartoon. Like he grew up in like a water tribe, and like in that tribe the men were warriors, and
Hmm.
like that was his outlook. Like my dad's a warrior, and like as we know in the show, they talk about he's a brilliant guy, as like as silly as he is, he's like got this like engineer type of way, and like he learns in the show, he also gets a sword and whatnot, but he never gets as elite as like the rest of the team, and I don't think he was ever supposed to be that. And I think that's always that, like he's like, I'm supposed to be a warrior, I'm supposed to be the man, I'm supposed to be. So in the cartoon, I know he was sexist, but I think it was like him overly trying to be something he wasn't.
Right.
Um,
Like to balance out his imposter syndrome, could be like, oh, I'm
yeah,
not like worthy enough, or yeah, totally, I agree. And that's why I was like, I might have a controversial take, and I'm not saying like I support sexism and stuff, but like I kind of felt like it did take a little bit away from his character, because I thought a big part of him and his growth through the first season is realizing like, hey, I can't discredit somebody just because they're a girl. They were like, oh, I can't disrespect the Kyoshi Warriors because they're women. Like I thought that did kind of, it felt a little bit like there was a gap there in the growth that he had to go through, because that wasn't a lesson he needed to learn. And so maybe, they didn't need two sexist characters, as you'll see in the later seasons. Like Master Paku is very much like he is in the original anime, where, men are warriors, men use water bending for fighting, women use water bending for healing. So Katara, you can't be a warrior. And or in the show, it's like I can't, or I guess in the anime, it's like I can't train you, right? Because I can only train the boys. And
yeah.
so maybe they didn't want to double down on that, or have two characters that had that same kind of realization. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt like I wanted to see that growth from Sokka. And again, not saying we needed to see the sexism, but I did think it was a lesson that if he had learned, it would have shown even greater growth from Sokka in the series.
I yeah, I agree with that too. Just because like just because sexism is wrong, it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Like
Right.
he
yeah.
he grew up and that's what he was thinking, and like this would have been a clear example of like him learning, like, hey, there's different ways of thinking, and like just because you grew up a certain way doesn't mean it's right. Um, and yeah, like it kind of made that whole Kyoshi thing stronger because he was like, oh, let me show you how it's done, and she's like out doing everything, like
Hmm.
beating him and like flipping him and shit, and then he's like, wow, like you guys are badass, and I'm in love with you. Like
I
you,
feel like I feel like that was shown. I mean, not in the sense obviously when Sokka was kind of being like, "Hey, let me show you what to do." I think he went through the dialogue, he went in with a certain idea. It was definitely lesser than, but I think Suki was able to show him something new. And you could see just with their interaction and their blocking, how it was directed, that Sokka was the lesser of the two in terms of
Totally.
of skill. And so
That's true too.
they were able to do that in a way I think that was not as obvious. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they portray his character growth in the seasons to come, just because they're not necessarily making it as obvious as it was in the cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, but
Definitely.
even without that, he felt very Sokka. Like there were
True.
moments where
Yeah.
like
Totally true.
even his comedic, like I forget what, like there was a few things where he just comedically responded or did a facial expression or something,
Yeah.
and
Very Sokka. Yeah.
it was like, oh, this is very Sokka. Even though the lines were kind of cheese sometimes, like
Mm.
even he came off kind of cheesy or whatever. Like it still felt very Sokka. I was like, oh, this they did a good job with this, like with this casting.
Yeah.
So
Yep, yep. Yeah, I think they did a good job. There's just little things, and it's so hard for me still that I can't quite put my finger on. But like, there's just little moments where I just wish it landed a little bit more. But yeah, again, I've really nothing bad to say about it. I think it was awesome. It's by far, which isn't a high bar, the best live action Avatar that we've ever gotten in terms of Last Airbender. I think, yeah, it's going to be so interesting seeing these kids grow up. This had a smaller budget than the One Piece show, so hopefully it gets a bigger budget. The special effects can even get bigger. I thought all the landscapes of the city were like so beautiful. It looked really, really cool. It just, when they got to the cities, it felt a little disconnected. You're like, wait, that big wide shot of the city, is that where we are now? Because it doesn't quite feel like that sometimes. But I think that's something where budget and all that could help come in and make things, you know, when they're doing close-ups in the city, seeing the slides, the rock slides going up Omashu, or when you're in the water tribe in the north, seeing how waterbenders are pushing the water downstream to like move packages in the city or whatever. Like I think those things can be kind of boosted there, but I thought they hit so many of the fundamentals right. And yeah, if you're a fan of Avatar, like I think you might love it or hate it, but if you don't know anything about it, I think you definitely dig this show.
Yep.
yeah,
Agreed.
that's true. And like we were saying earlier, hopefully this is like, new people are like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then you're like, whoa, there's like a whole cartoon on this. Let me go check that out. And they go
Right.
back and watch the original because the original is like nearly perfect. It's
Totally.
perfect. It's so
Yeah.
good. So,
Dude, it is
that's
so
always there
good.
to enjoy as well. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
went back and rewatched all season one and like prep for this, and man, I'm just like, why don't I watch this show more? Why aren't there more seasons of this? Because, God, they just knocked it out of the park with this show. It's so
Mhm.
good. But yeah, I think as far as live action adaptation goes, this is pretty damn solid and 100% worth the watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right, so yeah, I think that's kind of it for tonight. Anything else you guys want to mention on Avatar before we close things up, or anything else that we talked about?
Nope.
Nope, I think we did a pretty good job summing everything up. I'm excited to finish the season and hopefully, they get greenlit for season 2.
Totally. We'll
Yeah.
get your thoughts too on after you watch the whole season, what you thought about and everything, because
Yeah.
curious if anything changes in your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for this week's episode. We have Dune Part 2 coming out on Friday. I can't wait
shit.
for this. It's got like it's got the highest rated movie score on IMDb.
Because your favorite
So-
Zendaya.
It's got Zendaya in it. It's got Timothy Chalamet. It's got Austin Butler, who just always sounds like Elvis now.
Terrence
I
Peanut in
can't
there?
wait.
Or
Oh wait,
Who's
are
it?
you guys buying that popcorn bucket?
I mean, might as well.
Yeah. We actually have one for giveaway, so we have to figure out how we want to
Oh.
give it away.
Oh,
But
perfect.
I have one.
Yeah.
So we'll
Let's
have
ship
to
it
discuss
FedEx
that.
or US or UPS or some shit. DHL.
Okay, is that the sexiest way to deliver it or something?
Duh.
Oh yeah, tiny
Okay.
shorts.
Duh.
Tight shorts. Well said.
What can Brown do?
Yeah,
for
that's
you?
pretty sexy.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Aloha, and thanks for sticking with us.
True.
Hell's Divers 2.
Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.